Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. We are diving into a really fundamental question that I think is facing almost every CEO today. If the talent you need doesn't exist yet, how do you build it? Today's deep dive is all about that shift. From just posting job descriptions and waiting to a much more proactive kind of workforce development through something called talent pipeline partnerships.
And this it's not just a nice to have anymore. It's becoming critical. The data we're seeing confirms it. Skills availability. It's now cited by top business leaders as a primary threat to their future growth. So that traditional reactive approach, waiting for the perfect candidate to just appear on LinkedIn, it's broken.
It's broken.
So our mission today is really to unpack this rigorous, practical roadmap that companies can use to co-create the exact talent they need. And they do that by building these structured links between their own business goals and, education and training providers.
Okay, let's get right into it then. The core concept. We've all heard about company partnerships, but how do these talent pipeline partnerships, these TPPs, how do they go beyond, say, a simple internship program or a job fair? What makes them so fundamentally different?
I think the difference really is defined by two things: commitment and collaboration. Traditional sourcing is about filtering a list. You have a list of candidates, and you're filtering them based on what they already know. TPPs, on the other hand, they're collaborative programs. You're working with schools, with workforce boards, with community organizations, and the goal is to co-design the actual curriculum, the learning pathways themselves.
So you're not just scanning for talent.
No, you're building it. You're fundamentally shifting your investment from just, scanning candidates to actually building a continually refreshed, skills-ready system that's tailored to what you're going to need tomorrow.
That sounds like a pretty significant long-term strategic investment. What are the the measurable payoffs that companies are seeing that would justify that kind of upfront commitment?
The sources are really clear on this. They highlight three immediate impacts. First, a big improvement in hiring speed, and that's critical in competitive fields. Second, a much stronger quality of hire.
Because they're trained for your specific needs.
Exactly. For your roles and for your culture. But maybe the most valuable piece, strategically, is resilience. When you have this dedicated, reliable flow of talent, you gain this deep resilience during, say, market volatility or a sudden economic shift. You aren't left scrambling.
Right. And the data also points to lower turnover rates for these hires. Is that just because they're better trained, or is something deeper going on?
It's the alignment. It's definitely the alignment. Because they've been nurtured through a pathway that was designed with the company's input. These new hires come in with a much clearer picture of the role.
And the culture.
They self-select better, which stabilizes the whole pipeline and, it reduces that costly early attrition.
Okay, so to get that kind of stability, this can't just be an HR initiative, right? It has to be the whole business.
Precisely. The strategy needs coordination across, every talent-facing function. We're talking employer brand, sourcing channels, your CRM tracking, screening, internal development. That coordination is the critical link. It's what translates all that pipeline activity into real, measurable hiring results. So when a critical role opens up, you're ready. You're not starting from scratch.
Let's pivot to the practical side of this, the how-to. The roadmap and the source material starts with forecasting. But in today's world with new tech emerging constantly, how do companies effectively forecast their skill needs 12, even 24 months out without, risking a huge sunk cost if the business pivots?
That is the key challenge. And the answer is you don't just forecast jobs, you have to forecast measurable skills. So the first step is to identify those critical future jobs, and then you map the precise transferable skills each one requires. Then you map those gaps against what you're seeing in industry trends. That lets you prioritize. You focus your investment only on the skills that have the highest risk of scarcity.
Okay, so once you have that forecast, the next big step is picking the right partners. How do you go from we need this skill to an actual executable agreement with a partner?
It's a three-step process after you have the forecast. First, you evaluate and select. You have to choose partners that align not just operationally, can they actually train the people, but culturally and ethically. Second, you co-create objectives and metrics. This has to be more than just, we hope to hire a few people. You need shared, measurable outcomes right up front. How many referrals get an interview? What's the training completion rate? How many successful hires in year one? Those metrics are the backbone of the whole relationship.
And the source material breaks down 5 distinct partner categories. Let's start with the one we all know, colleges and universities. What's their unique value in this co-creation model?
They're essential for that early career pipeline. Their value is in facilitating really deep, structured internships, co-ops, capstone projects. It's more than just recruitment. It turns coursework into hands-on experience. It's basically a long, high-quality assessment period for everyone involved.
Right. And then there are the regional workforce development entities. These seem like a faster track solution.
Oh, they absolutely are. These entities are brilliant at delivering demand-driven training that's tied to industry credentials. So if your company needs, say, 50 certified cloud professionals now, these boards are your best bet for a faster time to hire. Their whole reason for being is matching training to immediate employer demand.
Now, I want to pause on one of these. State vocational rehabilitation, or VR programs. This is where the financial leverage seems to get really significant, and I think this insight often gets missed. Beyond the inclusive sourcing benefits, what specific resources do VR programs provide that directly help a company's bottom line?
This is a massive and, like you said, an often overlooked financial advantage.
Yeah.
VR services, they drastically reduce the cost and the barriers to inclusive hiring. They provide essential services like accessibility consulting, training for your managers on ADA compliance, and crucial direct on-the-job coaching for the new employee.
And for the employer, what's the direct financial piece?
For the employer, it's the guidance on accessing state and federal resources, and that often includes significant tax credit guidance. So by leveraging these community supports, you're essentially extending your talent budget without actually increasing your spend. Community engagement becomes part of your financial strategy.
That's a really powerful point. Okay, and finally, there are registered apprenticeships.
Yeah.
The classic earn and learn model.
The gold standard, especially for creating reliable pipelines into highly skilled trades or technical roles. I think the key takeaway here is that you mix and match these partners. You don't just kick one. You use colleges, workforce boards, VR, apprenticeships to build a resilient system that reaches all skill levels.
So moving on to the strategic payoff. This whole model is really about risk reduction, isn't it?
It is. It's about insulating your business from those external market shocks. When you proactively build talent that's aligned with your needs, you stabilize your human capital base. And that's a huge reduction in operational risk.
The source also really emphasizes inclusion, noting that these community-based agencies can connect you with huge pools of overlooked candidates.
That's absolutely right. These partners specialize in supporting groups that traditional sourcing just misses. They help companies build inclusive practices right into the pipeline itself, lowering barriers all the way from the application to the interview.
So if a company is ready to go, the advice is to start small with a pilot. But launching a new pipeline takes a lot of internal bandwidth. How can they run a short, measurable experiment that actually minimizes risk and doesn't just overburden their managers?
The pilot has to be surgical. You link one precise, critical role, not a whole department, to specific, measurable partner supports. You keep the group small, the timeline short, maybe 6 months. Defining that role and the success metrics up front limits your risk and gets you fast feedback before you commit to scaling it across the whole company.
Which leads right to training your internal teams. A manager who suddenly has an apprentice needs a bit of a culture shift.
They do. Companies have to enable their teams. That means training on inclusive interviewing, clear communication on ADA obligations, bias reduction, and critically, you have to blend internal mobility into this. Promote your current employees into new careers alongside the external hires. It stabilizes the pipeline and shows commitment to the people you already have.
And to scale this, the sources say documentation is non-negotiable.
It's the only way to go from an experiment to a system. You have to document every step. Track the referrals, the assessments, offers, the onboarding support. If you can't quantify the process in the pilot, you can't replicate its success later.
Let's talk governance. These are strategic alliances, not just vendor relationships. What kind of structure keeps TPPs productive over the long haul?
The governance needs to be simple but clear, authoritative. You need a leader from HR or talent acquisition, the business unit manager who actually owns the need, and the key partner liaison. And they have to meet regularly, monthly during a pilot, quarterly for a mature program. They review the data, they capture wins, and they refine the agreement based on real-time feedback.
What are the critical KPIs for judging that performance? We need data that proves the investment is worth it beyond just headcount.
You have to move past the standard stuff. Of course, you track time to fill, quality of hire, source of hire, but the real insight comes from conversion funnel metrics. You have to track conversion rates referral to interview to offer to hire for each partner. That clear data tells leadership exactly which channels are the most productive. It lets them move investment away from generic sourcing and into these proven talent creation channels. And of course, you have to track diversity and retention for these groups.
So finally, what does the company need to provide on day one to make sure these new hires actually succeed?
Success requires robust, practical supports. These should be built right into the TPP agreement. So, structured on-the-job coaching, mentorship programs, clear safety training. You have to make sure accommodations are handled proactively. And pairing new hires with a workplace buddy, someone who can be a cultural guide, that dramatically reduces the risk of them dropping off early. The ultimate strategic takeaway here is that this whole process is about linking your talent acquisition analytics directly to your financial investment choices. You use that hard data from the KPIs to strategically fund the most productive talent channels. You're moving beyond just paying for sourcing. You're making targeted, high ROI investment in talent creation.
That's a really clear framework for justifying the investment. So what is the final memorable takeaway for a listener who's ready to launch their first TPP today? I'd say remember the 3 anchors for success: clear process steps, simple governance, and ongoing detailed measurement. That structure is what lets you move from a one-off experiment to a scalable, predictable engine for talent across the whole organization.
And I'd add, beyond the efficiency, focus on the leverage. If you're struggling with a skills gap, think immediately about how community supports, grants, and tax credits, which are often linked to partners like VR programs, can dramatically extend your HR resources. You can hit ambitious growth targets without crippling your budget.
That's a powerful dual strategy: efficiency and financial savvy. So for you, the listener, you should probably start by mapping your 12 to 24-month needs and figuring out which of those 5 partner categories — colleges, workforce boards, apprenticeships, VR, or community agencies — is the best fit.
Design the conversation around one critical role, define the shared success metrics, and just start documenting.
That's it for this deep dive. We look forward to catching you on the next one.